1,
2,
3,
4.
Monster movie.
Fun time, go! Monster movie.
Fun time, go. Monster.
Movie.
Fun time.
Go!
Monster movie. Fun time, go.
With Precious D and Honey Bee.
Fun time, go!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends and neighbors, welcome to Monster Movie Fun Time Go. I am one of your hosts, Precious D.
And I am the other one of your hosts, Honey Bee.
Honeybee and I are two best friends making our way through the history of kaiju movies. We started in 1933 with King Kong, and today we are in 2009 with an animated movie, Monsters vs. Aliens, from DreamWorks. This is one of those hidden gems. Well, not hidden, but sort of hidden for... Let me explain. I mentioned a while back that we're in kind of a... I mentioned a while back that we're in kind of a bad period of kaiju movies. A period of asylum films and sci-fi originals. Sometimes they're both of those things at the same time. But that there were a few gems amongst the effluence that we're in this time period, in this late 2000s, early 2000s, but late 2000s. You know what I'm saying.
The aughts. Yeah.
Turn of the century. Yeah, the aughts. The turn of the century. And Monsters vs. Aliens is one of those movies. It is actually a good movie. Not made by the Asylum, made by DreamWorks.
Yeah, I remember watching this movie in my first apartment. I think I was 17. I had my first apartment, and I had rented this movie somehow. I'm not sure how. Maybe it was Redbox? I'm not sure. But I remember renting this movie, and I had the flu or something. Like, I was really sick, and I just felt so bad. And I rented, like, a cartoon, just like, looks good. It's new. I'm going to watch it. And it made me feel so much better. And I think of that every single time I watch it. Just sitting in my brand new apartment.
I think I saw it in the theater. It was in 3D when it came out. Which is always a little weird when you watch it in not 3D later, and then you get these moments where like, oh wait, was this a 3D movie?
Yeah.
Like in the beginning when the guy's playing with the paddle ball. Let's see, it's 94 minutes. It's in English from the United States. The budget was $175 million. The box office was $381.7 million. So good for them. I see here that 15 of those $1 million was from filming it, or not filming, but making it in 3D to begin with, rather than converting it after the fact. That added $15 million to the budget. But it always looks better when they do that, even in a cartoon. I'm not sure what you have to do in a cartoon to do that. Because in a movie, when you're making a movie, I think you have to use two cameras to do that. But when it's all drawings, I don't know what you do.
Do you know,
Make
listener? If
drawings,
you do,
I guess.
Please write in, call in, all of the
I
things.
guess you'd have
Let
to
us
make
know.
I guess you'd have to make two slightly different drawings to get the effect that you get from two different cameras. Anyway, your initial thoughts on Monsters vs. Aliens?
Well, I will say I love this movie.
It made you feel better when you were sick.
It definitely did. I love this movie. It is like a movie I know so well. I know the dialogue to it. Like, I love this film. And also, I hadn't watched it in maybe like a year or two. But there were so many things watching it this time around, since we've been doing this podcast, that I was like, oh my gosh, how funny. Like, there's so many little Easter eggs in there that I didn't really get or see before, because I didn't really have any interest or watch any kaiju films, so I had a different appreciation for it this time around. I absolutely love this movie. I love this cast. It is so funny. This is a kind of movie that will just make you laugh out loud throughout the whole thing. There's never a dull moment in this film, and it's just a feel good, laugh out loud comedy. I love it so much. It's such a good, it's a feel good movie for me. What about you?
I like it. I liked it at the time. I like it now. There's one thing I don't like a little bit. Well, I'll get to that in a minute. I do think, as I was watching it, I was a little bit like, who is this movie for? This is supposed to be a kid's movie. But there's references to Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which came out in 1977. Mm-hmm. So what child watching this in 2009, I understood the joke, but to a kid watching this in 2009, it's maybe a little confusing and a little weird, and they're not going to get that joke. I mean, do you know what I'm talking about? Have you seen Close Encounters?
I have not, but I didn't think anything was weird or that I didn't realize I was missing something. I will say though, it's very one of those things where they put a hot girl in a bikini in a kid's movie for the dad. It's very much like that. Right. A lot of these jokes are for the parents. Yeah.
Yes, but it just seems like there's a lot of them, not just a few of them, a lot of them. But hey, maybe the movie's not for kids. Maybe it's for me. Maybe it was actually made for me. And hey, if the kids enjoy it too, that's fine. But we don't care if they do. Somebody enjoyed it. Made over
Fuck them kids.
It made over $300 million. Like the name of the general. Kids aren't going to get that his name is Warmonger. I have not seen any of the follow-up material, and you got to pay for it, so I'm not gonna watch it now. There was never a movie sequel, but there were 2 TV specials and then a TV series that was 1 or 2 seasons, depending on how you count. I saw somewhere that it was 1 season, but then when I was looking at it where they were offering it for sale, they were acting like it was 2 seasons. So maybe they just want to suck more money out of me. Have you seen any of those? No? Okay. Yeah, it was followed up by Mutant Pumpkins from Outer Space and Night of the Living Carrots. I'm not certain, but I think those might have been Halloween specials.
Yeah, I'd say.
And then a TV series in 2013. So, quickly before I get to the voice cast, the thing I don't really like the character design of the humans. And
what do you mean?
They use a similar design in another DreamWorks movie, Megamind. Yeah, I think they all just look creepy and unpleasant. I don't... Susan's supposed to be attractive, but her head is oddly shaped.
Attractive to who?
To, other cartoons, I guess. To me. I just don't like the DreamWorks character design for a kid. Because, how Pixar's got a certain design it tends to use. Disney has a certain design, shape of the head and the body and such. And the way that DreamWorks shapes their humans' heads, I find unpleasant to look at. Do not like it.
That's hilarious.
They all have really huge foreheads, and they're kind of flattened out, sort of football shaped. Well, not all of them. Some of them are flattened out the other direction. So you've seen Megamind, haven't you?
Oh yeah, love it.
Yeah, the Lois Lane character in that. I'm like, I think she's supposed to be pretty, but she looks weird. They're out. Everybody's acting like she's pretty, but she's got a weirdly shaped head. Make her go away.
Funny.
I find her more. Megamind's an alien, so of course his head's shaped weird, but hers shouldn't be. So that's my only real complaint is I just don't like the character design.
Okay.
Visually.
Well, I'm glad that that's your complaint, because as soon as you were like, there's one thing I don't like about it, I was like, don't you dare say that you don't like Seth Rogen in this movie.
No, he's. There are. I guess I'd say I'm Seth Rogen neutral. I've enjoyed some things he's in, and I've gotten very angry at one particular thing he's in.
Okay, all right.
But I don't think I'm ever, oh goody, it's Seth Rogen. It's just like, okay, it's Seth Rogen.
Okay, that makes sense.
Fine.
I'm very like, yeah, it's Seth Rogen. Woo!
If he had never made Green Hornet, I might feel a little differently. But I'm very angry at him for Green Hornet.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I was looking forward to that movie for years, and it was, stuck in development hell, and Kevin Smith was supposed to do it, and then he chickened out, and then I heard Seth Rogen is now attached, and I was like, oh no, this is not going to be the movie I wanted. This is going to be dumbassery, and I was correct.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to this movie, in which he is appropriately cast.
Mm-hmm.
Our stars, our voice actors are Reese Witherspoon as Susan Murphy / Ginormica, Seth Rogen as Bob, which stands for, oh Lord, benzoate acetylazine bicarbonate, who is our blob stand-in. Hugh Laurie as Dr. Hubert Cockroach, Ph.D., who is very similar to The Fly. Will Arnett as the missing Link, and they often just refer to him as Link, who is similar to the creature from the Black Lagoon in his design. Rainn Wilson as Gallaxhar, a squid dude from outer space. Amy Poehler as Gallaxhar's computer. I don't think I realized that. Kiefer Sutherland as General W.R. Monger. I did not realize that at all. He's doing a good job there. He's putting on a voice. He's not sounding like Kiefer Sutherland. He's acting. Stephen Colbert, who I totally did realize was in this, as President Hathaway. Mm-hmm. Paul Rudd as Derek Deedle. Jeffrey Tambor as Carl Murphy. That's Susan's father. Julie White as Wendy Murphy, Susan's mother. Renee Zellweger as Kate. That's the girl on the date in the car. John Krasinski as Cuthbert, the guy that's on the date with her. And Ed Helms as news reporter.
What a great cast.
David James Koch provided the voice in the Australian release of the film. I don't know why that would be. Maybe, is he Australian? Yes, he's Australian. Okay. He's a TV presenter and journalist in Australia, so maybe they wanted a recognizable Australian news voice for some reason. So, they all do a good job.
It's just a great cast. I just feel like I feel like a big fan of a lot of these people, and it's so cool to have them all together doing something so fun and so silly. And I feel like a lot of these people are just like comedic geniuses, and to have them all in one little space of just pure happiness just feels so good. I just love this movie so much. I love it. I also heard this joke the other day that made me laugh really hard, and it was like, did you hear about that actress that got stabbed? And then
no, tell me about the actor that got stabbed.
And then you would say, yeah, it's like Reese. And then someone's like, Witherspoon? And they're like, no, with a knife.
That's terrible. Wow.
Yeah.
I bet she just loves that joke. I bet she never had to hear that kind of shit growing up.
Yeah. Wait, I have to ask though before we get into it, because I really want to know, who is your favorite?
I think I like Susan. I think I like Ginormica the best.
Okay.
Apart from her weird shaped head, I do like how her hair turns white. I enjoy her look. I like everything but her head. I like her white hair. I like her jumpsuit. I like her weird alien jumpsuit she gets later. But I do, I really like Hugh Laurie. I've always liked Hugh Laurie. They're all funny. But yeah, I guess I'll go with Ginormica. She's not the funniest one, but she.
Yeah.
It's her story.
Right.
It's her journey.
I think if we were characters in this film, you would be Dr. Cockroach. Because I think you could, like, you're smart, you're so smart, and you could make things like a computer out of a pizza box. You're a computer out of a pizza box kind of guy.
Okay, well, thank you. And who would you be? Would you be Bob or would you be Ginormica?
I would be Insectosaurus.
Insectosaurus? Right. Yeah, we didn't mention Insectosaurus because I guess somebody did the noises, but the Insectosaurus doesn't really have a voice actor per se. Just kind of makes some. And
yeah, Bob
Insectosaurus is an analog of Mothra.
Yeah. Bob is my favorite, but Insectosaurus is a very, very close second. And I felt that way before I even knew who Mothra was. I just want to say, for the record, I did love Insectosaurus before I loved Mothra. I did not, and I didn't realize that the two were, like, connected until I watched it this time. I'm like, oh my God, that's so funny. But yeah, Bob is my absolute favorite. Like, oh gosh, every single thing that Bob says just makes me cackle. So definitely my favorite.
I don't think I've watched this since it came out, or maybe once. I think I used to have it on DVD because I remember watching like special features of deleted scenes. Mm-hmm. The only one I really remember is them making a Leroy Jenkins joke. Mm-hmm. They're making a plan or something, and then Bob just yells, "Leroy Jenkins!" and jumps out the window.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when there's deleted scenes in an animated film, they tend to be just like line drawing. And, they haven't bothered to fully animate them because they cut them out. So it's just sort of this line drawing, slightly animated version of Bob jumping out the window.
Oh man, so good.
That would have been a very up-to-date joke at the time. Well, I guess we should get into the plot here. I have a summary from Wikipedia. Thank you, Wikipedia. I did make notes this time, and now I've lost them because I have too much stuff and too many spiral notebooks laying around, and I don't know what happened to my notes.
Boo! Boo those notes.
In Modesto, California, Susan Murphy is to be married to weatherman Dirk Dietl.
Well, first we see the planet, the planet explode, and a piece heads for Earth,
yes.
And we get the whole little, the guys like, this is why I took this job because nothing ever happens, which is so funny.
There's a couple of guys it's a couple of like government monitoring guys. They're supposed to be monitoring for alien activity.
And when the
never
thing
expecting
happens,
there to be any.
Right, and they say, "We got a code Nimoy," and I thought that was funny. And I don't think I realized that in the beginning, but thank you, Big Bang Theory, I kind of understood why, like, it was a joke. So yeah.
So you didn't get that joke the first time you watched it?
No, I did not.
Because of Big Bang Theory, not because of actually watching Star Trek.
Right, I only got it because Sheldon is obsessed, and he get like someone like Penny gets like a napkin or something so that's the only reason why I got the joke this time.
She gets Leonard Nimoy's autograph. I have Leonard Nimoy's autograph that I got in person.
Ooh.
Here in Odessa. I also have autographs from most of those people, but 3 of them I got in person. Others I joined their fan club or I wrote them a letter or whatever. Mm-hmm. But James Doohan and Leonard Nimoy I both got here in Odessa, Texas. They both came here years and years ago, back in the late 70s, early 80s. Leonard Nimoy came to the college to give a speech, a presentation. And then I was able to get into the private reception later.
Oh.
Somebody I knew worked there and had extra passes or something. I didn't realize it was going to happen till like we were there. And I was like, yeah. And we got in there and I had him sign the inside cover of my Star Trek technical manual.
Aww.
A few years later, I had James Doohan came, and similar thing, but it was at a theater, movie theater, and they showed these guys used to go around and do appearances, and sometimes they would show blooper reels. Well, they showed I think an episode or two of the show, and then they showed a blooper reel. And then while that was showing, he went out into the lobby and was signing autographs at a table. So I got it signed by him too. Anywho, back to this movie that does not have either of them in it. Susan she's going to become a 50-foot woman, and like most 50-foot women, is kind of
douchebag.
treated. Yes, has no power of her own until she becomes a 50-foot woman. So she's getting ready to get married to Derek, and Derek is telling her that turns out we can't go to Paris on our honeymoon like we were supposed to, and she was really looking forward to it because he's a weatherman, but he has an audition to become the news anchor in Fresno, which is a bigger market than Modesto. So he has to skip his honeymoon to do that. And he gives her she's like, I'm so proud of you. And he's like, no, proud of us because we're a team. It's all about us. But he's full of shit. We're going to find out later he's full of shit. And he seems,
he seems very full of shit from the beginning. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. But I will say that when her friends like come to wake her up, like, hey, it's the day of your wedding, like the comedy starts out so strong because like that it's like monsters versus aliens, so you're like, you're waiting for this thing, and her friend like has asthma or something, so is like breathing really heavy and like trying to like and like has an inhaler, and it's just so hysterical. I really love the type of humor that is in this movie. It just really gets me. This movie tickles my funny bones.
It's interesting you say that because after this movie, DreamWorks stopped making this kind of movie and moved on to other things because this movie is basically it's a parody of, and like I was saying earlier, who is this movie for? This is a parody of things that kids don't have any idea what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. And they realize that even though this movie made a profit, maybe we should move on to things that are not parodies.
Yeah.
Of other things. What were satires?
But I will say,
what was the other?
Even before I knew anything about like kaiju or like anything having to do with this movie though, like even though a lot of the jokes flew past me in a way, like I still loved this movie and I still enjoyed it so much even before I got like the inside jokes, if you will. So I feel like they did a good job of that, of where like you don't really have to know shit to like enjoy and watch this movie. It's like even for kids, I feel like it's very bright and colorful and there's like a lot of things going on and it's just so silly and it's just it is a chef's kiss.
So she's getting ready for her wedding but her dreams are being not crushed exactly, but postponed.
Compromised. She's
putting on she's obviously disappointed, but she's putting on a brave face because this will be good for our future, but she is, subverting her desires for her future husbands, and she's going to grow out of that, literally. And then she gets hit on the head by a meteor.
And the sound that she makes when the meteor hits her is pure gold. It's so funny because, like, this whole time she's, like, speaking in this voice and she's so excited for Paris and la la la. And then the meteor hits her, she's like, ugh! And it's just, like, so guttural and so good. I just love it so much. Yeah.
So she gets, somebody comes looking for her. And she comes stumbling in just, filthy and her dress is all tattered. And somebody's like, oh, you're a mess. Don't worry. I have some wipes. Like, she needs a whole new dress. Though she initially appears unharmed, says Wikipedia, during the ceremony, the energy causes Susan to grow 50 feet tall, accidentally destroying the church in the process. So during the ceremony, her hair changes color. She starts glowing, her hair changes color, and she gets big. The military immediately shows up. Wikipedia says soon after, but no. They immediately show up. And this part bugged me a little bit, but, it's a kid's movie. They seem prepared for a 50-foot woman. They not only know that this meteor has struck, they seem to already know what's going to happen, and I don't find that believable, but we'll put it aside. Because they've got everything they need to contain a giant. Maybe they just carry every
there is
possible
a whole
thing they might need.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. There is like a whole warehouse full of monsters, so maybe they're just super prepared.
Yeah, so maybe they had a bunch of other stuff we didn't see, and they're just like, oh, okay, it's a 50-foot woman situation. Get this packet and that packet. And but they've got stuff big grappling hooks with lines and things to do a Gulliver on her, to tie her down.
Oh my gosh, when they dart her, they give her a tranquilizer, and she pulls it out of her butt and then throws it, and it hits a guy's foot.
Yeah. Yeah, see that
so
they have
funny.
a giant, a 6-foot long tranquilizer dart. That's not something you just carry around unless there might be a giant person that I need to use this on. Maybe they thought it could be a Insectosaurus situation, and they could use it on that as well. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, she wakes up in this facility. Very illegal. This is very illegal what they do to her. She hasn't really committed any crime. You could possibly charge her with vandalizing the church, but she hasn't been tried. She just gets locked up by the army in a secret facility somewhere with no due process, no access to an attorney, nothing, and does not complain about it nearly as much as she ought to be, I feel.
Well, it is a kid's movie. We're not going to put them through all of that bullshit.
It's just hard for me not to, wait a minute, this is not okay.
Yeah.
But she wakes up there in this facility that houses monsters, where she meets General W.R. Monger, the Army officer in charge of the facility, and her fellow monster inmates, Dr. Herbert Cockroach, Ph.D., a scientist who became half human, half cockroach after an experiment gone wrong. Bob, that I'm not going to say his full name again, a brainless and living indestructible mass of blue goo that is a result of a food poisoning flavoring mutation. The missing link, a prehistoric 20,000-year-old fish-ape hybrid who was thawed from deep ice by scientists, and Insectosaurus, a massive bug mutated by nuclear radiation standing 350 feet in height that attacked Tokyo, Japan.
Whee!
Susan is renamed Ginormica by the government and is forbidden any contact with her friends and family. Yeah,
He's like, yeah, by the way, your government has changed your name to Ginormica, and slams the door shut.
Yeah. It's the monsters that asked her at one point. When she wakes up, there's some other monsters around her, and they feed them some goop or something.
Mm-hmm.
They ask her name, and she says Susan, and they're like, no, your monster name. She's like, I'm just Susan.
Yeah, what do people yell when you're running through the streets? Here comes, and she's like, Susan.
Susan. Meanwhile, on a mysterious spaceship, a squid-like extraterrestrial overlord named Gallaxhar is alerted to the presence of a powerful substance known as quantonium and sends a gigantic robotic probe to retrieve it. The probe lands on Earth, where the President of the United States attempts to make first contact with it by playing Axel F on a keyboard. Okay, so this is the Close Encounters of the Third Kind thing I was talking about.
This is hysterical. I didn't know the reference. I didn't get it. But I remember when I first watched this movie, this part was hysterical. This had me in tears. I was laughing so hard.
Huh. So
it's just
it's
so
weird that
funny.
You find it funny without knowing why he's doing what he's doing. So in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, people around the world are having contact with aliens. And eventually are getting the feeling that they need to go to a certain location. But we keep seeing these glimpses of all around the world of aliens making preliminary contact with people. And one of the ways they do this is through music.
Okay.
There's this 5-note tune that is a motif within the movie that the aliens are playing for people, putting in their heads, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that dun 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 dun. And then at the end of the movie, the government seems these various civilians who are being called by the aliens end up hooking up with the government. Sort of takes them prisoner, but then takes them to the facility that they've set up where, for whatever reason, they believed, okay, this is where the aliens are going to contact us. And the alien spaceship comes, and I can't remember if we play the notes first or they play it first, but we communicate with them with this little tune.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a human guy basically at a keyboard, and they've got lights hooked up to it, and they play the 5 notes, and then the aliens play it back. The aliens play it back at them, and then they play it again, and then the aliens start playing more notes. So it kind of seems like maybe this is their language. And there was actually a disco remix of this song that was a popular hit on the radio.
It was Crazy Frog. It's bam, 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 do the Crazy Frog. It's Crazy Frog.
Okay. I don't know Crazy Frog. You're
Well,
saying
it's
that's
just
what
the
the president
song.
was playing?
Yeah.
Oh, no. The song he's playing, or maybe, I guess Crazy Frog also, the song is Axel F., which is from Beverly Hills Cop. Axel Foley is Eddie Murphy's character. So the joke in this movie is the president goes up these really long stairs where there's a keyboard, and he starts to play the Close Encounters thing, but he gets the last note wrong. Then he gets it right, and then he just starts improvising by playing do 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 do, and he just ends up playing half the freaking song. So that's what that whole joke is about. Sorry
That
for
is
the long
so
explanation.
funny. No, that's perfect.
That's
I
why
had
he's
no idea.
Yes. So that's why he's playing a keyboard in the first place, because this is a reference to Close Encounters. But then the joke is that he starts playing this other song that really has nothing to do with it, but is also a synthesizer keyboard song, which I found extra funny because I just watched recently the 4th Beverly Hills Cop movie that came out on Netflix. I think it was not a theatrical release. I believe it was a Netflix original, which is very much a indulging in nostalgia movie. It breaks no new ground. It just relentlessly indulges in nostalgia by playing. There's some new songs, but they play a lot of music from the original soundtrack.
Yeah, I definitely did not get the joke, but I just because the president's kind of like a dipshit a little bit.
Yes.
He's always just doing he's do something violent, or he's fire somebody, and he's just it's just so funny. So I really thought the joke to me was literally just this president is kind of a dipshit, and it's just trying to communicate, and then starts playing this hilarious, and the way he's dancing, and it's just so funny.
Yes.
It's absolutely hysterical, and one of my favorite parts of the whole movie, and I didn't even get the joke, which is so funny.
Anyway, so this doesn't work though. The probe goes on a destructive attack, heading straight for San Francisco, despite unsuccessful attempts by the U.S. Armed Forces to destroy it. Monger convinces the president to grant the monsters their freedom if they can stop the probe. In San Francisco, the robot detects the quantonium within Ginormica's body and targets her. At the Golden Gate Bridge, the monsters manage to destroy the giant robot by using parts of the bridge itself. Ergo, the government honors their deal with the monsters and sets them free. And this is a great action sequence, and Ginormica uses a couple of convertible cars as roller skates.
Yes, it's so good.
So Fortunately, the cars had been left in neutral when everybody fled, and she was able to do that. But this seems to be her thing, because then she kind of does a similar thing later at the end of the film with a couple of alien scout ships or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I found it a little weird, though, that they didn't set that up, that she's good at roller skating before this. But I quite enjoyed this whole thing. So now everybody knows that they exist, and she goes home and introduces her new friends to her family and everything.
Oh, something that we didn't mention earlier, but I'm just looking at my notes here, is when they first like meet each other. They're also like, they're right before they get, the government's like, all right, you got to go fight these monsters. They're like, we're never gonna get out of here. No one has ever gotten out of here. And Bob's like, yeah. What about the Invisible Man? And they're like, no, he's still in that chair. We just didn't tell you.
He died of
because
a heart.
we didn't.
He died of a heart attack.
And we didn't want to tell you. And they're like, he's still there. So funny.
Yeah, which I thought was a little weird. Why didn't the government realize he was dead and take his body away? It must have started stinking at some point.
Oh my gosh, that's just so funny.
But she gets to come home, and her family, it's not clear if they thought she was dead or just, well, I mean, they saw the government take her away, but I don't know what the government had told them. So she gets to come home, and they try to have a backyard barbecue for the monsters.
Mm-hmm.
But there's lots of misunderstandings, and everybody's frightened, and the monsters think we're all having a good time.
Mm-hmm.
And Bob puts the moves on a Jell-O mold.
Which is so good. It's so funny. This is also one of my favorite parts of the movie. And when he's like talking shit to Derek in the end, and he like brings up the Jell-O and then like shakes the Jell-O in Derek's face, like, oh my god, it's so fucking funny.
Yes, Bob is very confused, ladies and gentlemen, about, he thinks things that have happened. Well, I mean, he's dumb. They talk about him having no brain. He must have some kind of a brain, some nervous system of some kind, because he can talk and he gets sensory input. But he's really dumb. So he gets very confused about things that have happened to him and things that have happened to other people. So he gets the idea in his head. After hearing Susan's story, he gets the idea that this has happened to him, that he's not getting to marry Derek, and that when Derek breaks up with her in a minute, that Derek has broken up with him. So anyway, back to the summary. Gallaxhar sets a course for Earth to obtain the Quantonium himself, while the now free Ginormica returns home with her new friends and reunites with her family. While the monsters cause a ruckus in Ginormica's backyard with her family due to their lack of social experience. Dr. Cockroach should have been a little better at this, though, because presumably he did regular normal things before he got merged with the cockroach.
Better at what, though? What do you mean?
Better at the social interactions and things.
Oh.
However, being a mad scientist, perhaps he was never good at it.
Yeah, he's too mad scientist to be socially apt, in my opinion.
Yeah. So I guess he was always like that. Let's see. She reunites with Derek at his TV station. Derek breaks off, and we see Derek saying goodbye to Modesto because he's like, I'm moving on to bigger and better things. Thanks for watching, everybody. Goodbye, Modesto. Derek breaks off his engagement with Susan, unwilling to be with someone who would overshadow his career.
This is when we really find out he's a flaming bag of dog shit.
Yeah. So, and it's extra. At first, it seems like it's like, how, because she's like, I'm going to try to, we can work something out. I know this is an awkward situation, but, maybe I can get back to my own size, or maybe, but we'll make it work out. It's not the fact. Yeah. It's not the fact that she is just physically too large for him to deal with. It's the fact that she would overshadow him, that she would be more powerful and more famous, and what an asshole.
What an asshole.
There are going to be physical problems with them having any sort of married relationship, but he's not...
but not in a kid's movie.
that have to be dealt with, would have to be dealt with if this were real. But that's not the issue. He's just an asshole.
Yeah.
Initially heartbroken, Ginormica soon realizes that her life was better as a monster, and she swears to the other monsters to never go back to her original self again. So, yay. Suddenly, Ginormica is pulled into Gallaxhar's ship by a tractor beam. Insectosaurus tries to save her, but is shot down by Gallaxhar and seemingly killed. Oh, no.
No.
On board the ship, Ginormica furiously breaks free from her prison cell and chases down Gallaxhar. I love this part about he's like, there's no way you can possibly break out of that. It's, super duper strong. And she's just like, boom. And just breaks through every barrier that he puts down. They're running down a hallway and he's dropping one door after another and she's just breaking through all of them. So I just really enjoyed that. It's like, obviously you haven't tested this on a 50-foot woman. You only think it's strong enough to hold her. What kind of, how did you come to the conclusion this would hold her? What sort of test did you put this thing through? But he ends up trapping her with a machine at the end of the hallway and it extracts the quantonium from her body, shrinking her back to her original size. Her hair color stays the same, though. Mm-hmm. She does not regain her hair pigment, so I thought that was interesting. Gallaxhar then uses the extracted quantonium to create clones of himself, because apparently this shit can do just whatever you want it to do, in order to launch a full-scale invasion of Earth. Monger manages to get Bob, Link, and Dr. Cockroach on board the ship, where they rescue Ginormica and make their way to the main power core, where Dr. Cockroach sets the ship on self-destruct to prevent the invasion. But we're missing there was a bunch of stuff with the president and his staff and the general and trying to figure out what to do about this invasion. Because they first there was some of that figuring out what to do about the probe, the robot, but then they realized there's another ship coming, and there's this joke about the nuclear button.
Oh my gosh!
Just being a giant red. It's just a giant red button, and it's right next to another giant red button that's for coffee.
Yes.
He's like, what idiot designed this?
You, sir.
Yeah, because he's an idiot. So
and also, and whenever like the president stuff is happening, the president's like says something like, I can't remember exactly what it is, but he's like, it's a code brown because I need to change my pants. Like he like shit himself or something.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, so there's but there's a whole thing of them when they're on the ship. They they get some of the clones' uniforms and disguise themselves as clones. This whole part to me was very Wizard of Oz.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
And I saw just in passing on somebody's YouTube channel or something. I didn't even see what they were talking about, but apparently somebody has a theory that every movie is the Wizard of Oz. I didn't watch whatever the thing was to hear what their theory was, but I had just seen that and I was like, oh shit, this movie's turned into the Wizard of Oz right now. Because there's a whole part of the three friends. We've got a woman who's the lead, and she's got three buddies. Mm-hmm. 4 counting Insectosaurus, but she's not here right now. She's got these 3 buddies, and they are watching the marching army, just like the witches' marching army in Wizard of Oz, while they're trying to figure out. And they put on uniforms to disguise themselves just like the 3 guys in Wizard of Oz do, and sneak in to find their friend, and they do find their friend, and she puts on a uniform too, and these clones are so dumb that they can't recognize, as long as these guys are wearing uniforms, they cannot recognize that they don't look exactly like everybody else. They're all clones. They look exactly the same. Mm-hmm. But because these guys are in uniforms, they just see the uniforms and don't see that they don't look anything like them.
Except for one of them. He's like, this one's defective. You two, take him. And they're like, us? He's like, yes, you two. Take him and destroy him. And they're like, oh, yeah, it's working. Great.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, and you need a gun? And he hands them his gun. And then they accidentally shoot him and kill him.
Which is hilarious.
But they should have just done it on purpose, because they're going to blow up this whole ship. They're going to kill all of these clones. But they feel bad about it. Twice they accidentally shoot a clone and feel bad about it. But I'm like, you're planning to blow up this entire ship. Every one of those clones is going to die.
Still kids movie.
Yeah. So let's see. They rescue Ginormica, make their way to the main power core where Dr. Cockroach sets the ship to self-destruct to prevent the invasion. After a confrontation with Gallaxhar on the bridge, Ginormica sends a ball of stored quantonium down on herself, restoring her. And amazingly, it doesn't kill her before, just like the meteor. Should have killed her before it had time to mutate her, but she turns back into Ginormica. After rescuing her friends, they flee the ship and are rescued by Monger and Insectosaurus, who had metamorphosed into a giant butterfly.
Yay!
The ship then self-destructs, killing Gallaxhar and his army. And at some point, as I mentioned earlier, she ends up with a couple of, I blinked, I didn't see how it happened, but she ends up with a couple of like little probe scout ship kind of things on her feet. So she's not roller skating, but she's using them like, hover skates, I guess you call them, flying skates. So that's her thing now. Like I said, I haven't seen any of the follow-up stuff. I'm curious now whether that's a thing that she does frequently. Returning to Modesto, Ginormica, Bob, Dr. Cockroach, Link, and Butterflyosaurus receive a hero's welcome because they rename her. Link renames her. Link was particularly upset by her apparent death.
Well, also every time she would like say something, she's like, "Ah," and Link would be like, "Yeah, buddy, I get you." Like, first of all, the whole movie we're kind of under the impression that it's a dude, which is so good. And then every time it like squawks, Link like can just like communicate with it, which is just the best. They're kind of besties, I feel like.
Yeah. Let's see. Hoping to give himself a career boost, Derek tries to get back with Susan. He wants to interview her and on her new in his new anchor position, but she rejects and humiliates him live on camera in retaliation for his selfishness. And that's when we get the bit with Bob breaking up with him too. I found somebody new. I moved on, and she's
got 14 little pieces
carrying
of
the Jello with
pineapple
him this whole time.
Yeah.
I guess he's been carrying it with him this whole time. I don't know. It's a kid's movie. We don't care. Monger then arrives to inform the monsters that a monstrous snail named Escargantua is slowly making its way to Paris, France, after falling into a nuclear reactor, resulting in the heroes taking off to confront a new menace. Because they're all perfectly fine working for the government that kept them imprisoned, some of them for decades. But it's a kids movie, so we're gonna just work for the government that imprisoned us now.
And that would probably be real even if it wasn't a kids movie.
You think they would just say, okay, well, they all have Stockholm syndrome now, and they're yeah. I mean, they do have a choice. They could just start fighting the government. They could just fight the army and
Don't get us canceled. Don't get our podcast off the air for saying such things. But there is this one.
I could say, fight the army. Down with the government.
So there is a part where Warmonger is like, this place is filed, like wrapped up in a cave and deep fried in a paranoid conspiracy, like talking about the warehouse where they hide the monsters. It's secret. So funny. Yeah.
It's implied that where they are is Area 51.
Yeah, but someone tries to say that, and he gets taken out.
he talks exactly. He talks about how top secret the facility is, that you're not even allowed to say it, I think is what he says. And then this guy goes, "You mean Area 50?" And he knocks him. Did he shoot him with a tranquilizer or what? I can't remember what
Yeah, it's like a tranquilizer of some sort.
Oh, I also like the funny bit about the one woman that kept screaming.
Oh, yeah.
When she saw the monsters, and then they're like, "Get her out of here!" And then we hear the scream again, but this time it's the president.
Yeah.
So many good jokes. It's a good movie. I nitpicked a little bit, but it's a good movie. It's if you haven't seen it,
many good jokes.
You should watch it. Where was it playing on Netflix?
I'm not sure. I found it on YouTube.
Wherever I was watching it, it did say leaving soon.
Oh no.
I think it was Netflix, and I was like, oh shit, we better watch this quick. So were you watching it officially on YouTube, or had somebody uploaded it unofficially?
No, it's officially. It's like a like a YouTube for free movie type situation.
Oh, okay. If you have the, that's weird, because right now it's telling me that it's on Prime and Google and Fandango, but that you gotta rent or buy it. So yeah, last week it was on Netflix, I believe, but now it is not.
By the time this comes out, it'll probably be somewhere different. So find it yourself. You have Google. You can do it. We believe in you.
Yeah. Yes. But if you're, it's certainly worth renting or purchasing.
1,000%, yes.
Done that.
I own
Especially
it.
if you have kids who like to watch something over and over again.
Yes, or if you are a kid who likes to watch something over and over again.
Yes. So, Honeybee, what are you going to rate Monsters vs. Aliens?
5 stars across the board.
I'm trying to remember now if I gave it 4 or 5, but I'm going to go ahead and give it 5 right now.
Yeah, it's 5 stars for sure.
There you go, folks. 5 stars from both of us.
Woo!
What is next week's movie, Honeybee? Rega.
Is it Rega?
Rega God of Monsters. Next week is Rega God of Monsters, which you can see on Pluto or Tubi or probably all of those things. This is a follow-up to Rego, King of the Sea Monsters. Whether or not you're looking forward to that depends on how you felt about that movie. That's what we're doing next time, I think, because we're quickly approaching 31 Days of Horror. So I'm not sure how that's... I haven't looked closely at the calendar. I'm not sure how many weeks we have left before that starts. If you're new to the show, every October we do 31 Days of Horror and put out a new episode every day. We have a lot of guest stars, guest hosts, guest co-hosts, I guess you'd say. I'm not going to reveal the theme yet. That's a lot of work ahead of me. I guess that's going to wrap it up for today, folks. Please like and subscribe and check out our website and consider supporting us on Patreon at patreon.com/mmftg. Until next time, I have been Precious D.
And I have been Honey Bee.
Remember to keep calm and take shelter in basements.
And please don't misuse science.
We won't see you, but you will hear us next time on Monster Movie Fun Time Go. You've been listening to Monster Movie Fun Time Go. If you enjoyed the show, please consider rating and reviewing us on your podcasting platform of choice. You can leave us a message and find links to all our things at mmftg.com.